Hello, South by. How y'all doing? Miss Issa Rae, ma'am, first of all, I'm so glad that you were here. First of all, we found time in your very busy schedule.
No, I love Austin. I love South by Southwest. So I'm happy to be here.
Oh, love it. You're here promoting Seen and Heard. I, unlike you lucky people, have already gotten to see and heard it, and it's amazing. Yeah, I did that. But I'd love if you could talk a little bit about it. I know that it is a celebration and a chronicling of the history of Black film and television, but how did you approach bringing it to the screen and the cinema verite and the archival footage that really is throughout the docuseries, and how you found that and why you wanted to incorporate it into it?
Sure. Well, thanks so much. We really just wanted to make a comprehensive, rich history of Black television, particularly during a moment where we were having such a renaissance in television for Black creators and storytellers, and so we wanted to kind of chronicle that history. And shout out my executive, Montreal McKay, who was really instrumental in making that happen and making that a reality, and our incredible director, Giselle Bailey, who you mentioned the verite format. She's such an astounding filmmaker, and she's someone we immediately knew we wanted to tell this story, and we wanted to make it cinematic. We didn't want it to make it feel, no shade to other networks, but just that boring documentary format. And she was really intentional about the way that she wanted to tell the story. So it was just a marriage of creativity and reverence and love. And we were fortunate enough to get so many incredible participants in the documentary.
Yeah, I wanted to talk to you about that, and you mentioned it, but they haven't seen it. It is shot beautifully. It is shot like a film. That's why it feels that way when you're sitting down with these folks. And the people that are framed within the series, these are names like Cord Jefferson, Oprah Winfrey, Shonda Rhimes, Debbie Allen. From the history to the current, if it's about Black TV, you got them there. So first of all, how did you cast this? It's pretty amazing. And then
lots of asking favors. Lots of, we also have to shout out our execs at HBO. I think when people hear that there's an HBO documentary, they're like, all right, well, it's real. It's not bootleg. All right, I'll give you my time. And so we were really fortunate that also people wanted to tell their stories, and they have these incredible stories, and they may not have been asked questions about their journey and their vision in this particular way. So to be able to get an Oprah, to be able to give Mara Brock-Akil her flowers, to be able to have Tyler Perry talk about his journey in creating a studio that so many of us aspire to. It was just it's been a blessing. And even watching it myself and hearing some of these stories for the first time, it just inspires me. Like the end of that documentary also just inspires me to kind of do more and get my shit together.
You're doing enough. I'm so sorry, but ma'am is booked and busy. Well, it's interesting that you talk about it. I don't want to give away a ton because I do want folks to come back this evening and see the series. But one of the parts of it that I think has been talked about, and folks will talk about it now and again, but the way that a lot of studios used Black audiences to build up their networks and then abandon them as soon as it was convenient is something that anybody in the know understands, but I feel your documentary really details the hurt that it was inflicted upon the people that were involved in that moment. I'd love for you to preview a little bit about that and why it was so important, because that really does anchor the first episode.
Sure. I mean, it's one thing to say it, and one thing to inherit. Sometimes it sounds like a conspiracy. You might have heard someone say that. You may have heard that in the history of television and the history of particular networks. But to have the actual creators, showrunners, writers telling you and chronicle the history of that is just it's undeniable. So to have that, again, we wanted to make a comprehensive history and to be able to showcase with evidence that this is how they built the success of their networks on our backs, and we almost don't have anything to show for it as a result is tragic, and history repeats itself is all I'll say.
Ooh, that's some real talk, especially in this moment. Before we sort of move on, I wanted to talk a little bit about the fact that television has kind of been in your DNA as far as what you wanted to do as far as storytelling. I know a trip to the Moesha set when you were younger really sort of inspired you to be like, oh, I can do this. I'd be curious if you would detail for us some of the other early in life experiences that inspired you to say, not only do I want to tell stories and create television, but I want to do it in this big way.
In this big way is different because I didn't think about it. I start really small and start with what I can do. But I would have to say reality television. I talk about this all the time, but reality television was my villain origin story. In that, like, I watched a lot of it. And, you know, I'm a kid of the 90s, so it was Moesha, it was Fresh Prince, it was Martin, it was all these other shows that made me, in Different World, that made me feel like, oh, I could and I want to, and I don't know in what capacity, but I just know I want to be a part of it. And then the disappearance of that is what, like, bothered me in a way that just infuriated me. But then the advent of reality television, specifically where the portrayal of black women were concerned, was just like, it made me upset. And it was just because it was all we had. As much as I enjoyed watching it and, like, gathered all my friends to my little college apartment to be like, let's watch Flavor of Love, like, it was still like, let's watch this bullshit, you know? And it was hate watching. And then I remember the moment when I was just like, I can't just watch this anymore. Like, there has to be more than this. And it was Flavor. Did anybody see Flavor of Love? Did y'all used to watch
yes.
that?
I will never forget when she spit on Pumpkin. It was like
that was iconic.
Yeah,
I mean,
that was
the response.
Moment.
New York is an iconic. I can't deny that. But it was season 2, and I think it was like the season 2 premiere. And for those who don't know, Flavor of Love is a show where women compete to get Flavor Flav's love, and it's like The Bachelor.
That right there, yeah.
And instead of getting a rose, they would get like a clock or something. And in this one particular episode, the premiere, there was this girl named Something, because he gave them all nicknames that were just sometimes disrespectful, but Something was her name. And she needed to use the restroom. She needed to go to the bathroom, and they were doing the ceremony, so they told her, the producers told her she couldn't go to the bathroom. And she ended up shitting on the floor on TV, and they still aired it because they didn't let her go to the bathroom. And that was just part of the episode. And
it was
I was
entertainment.
Like, this is humiliating, and this is it. This is all we have. This is all black women have on television right now, because Girlfriends was gone. Like, all these other shows had just disappeared. And I think that's when I started, like, film blogging and just talking a bunch of shit. And then somebody was like, you talk a lot of mess. Why don't you make something? So shout out to that person.
Shout out to that. And in truth, shout out to my haters, because that's kind of a hater comment, but it's like.
It's true. I mean, I was talking a lot.
I feel that there's something that doesn't get talked about is you have the confidence to, quote unquote, run your mouth like that. And that, I think, is something that is instilled in some women and not in others. And I think you have to have a supportive family to a certain degree that will let you aspire to do this. I mean, because, girl, you went to Stanford. Those are like heavy student loans. And you're like, let me go make television. Were they always this supportive of it, or is this something that came after, like, okay, she went to the Emmys, she's gonna be okay?
You know, my mom was supportive in her way. Like, she was supportive, just point blank. She was always cautioning me about, like, this is an industry of rejection, and if you really want it, like, you have to work for it, and I'll support you, but just don't get your hopes up vibes. And to me, that was just like, well, I'm gonna prove you wrong. And my dad was more like, you know, you're going to college, the entertainment will always be there, get your degree, get your master's. And I was like, it's the other way. School's always gonna be here. Like, I'm gonna get old, what are we talking about? And he was just constantly Yeah, he wasn't here for it until literally I got an NPR interview when I was doing Awkward Black Girl, and he was like, "I heard you on the radio. You're on NPR. Wow, okay." But he's still like, literally, we went on a vacation. He's like, every year he'll still bring up, you can still get your master's. So I think
your dad and my mom would have conversations. She saw me on the Today Show though, and that's when she was like, "Oh, that's maybe a job." Maybe. Yeah. She's like, she's not Al Roker, but maybe it's a job. Love you, Mom. I feel you've created something that is so indelible and so iconic. It goes past like, this is what you'll be known for. It's going to be something that people always talk about, and that's Insecure. Like, I think some people think it's a blessing and a curse, but for you, I just think it's probably better than what Jay Ellis, who played Lawrence, has to deal with. That man has been slapped over things that you wrote. Maybe he's been assaulted in public. It's been 4 years since the show wrapped, but do you have some of your favorite fan moments? Because I know it's like, again, there's been moments where they were like, "We love you," and there's other moments where you're like, "I need to check out a Twitter." So what has been your favorite fan interaction all these years later from something that you did on the show?
All these years later? I mean, I love people. It's a blessing and a curse as well, but like people, not for me, but people going to visit the dunes, which wasn't even featured in the show past like season 2, but people will go to Issa and Lawrence's old apartment in LA and take pictures in front of it. Don't give a fuck that people actually live there. They, I've said they treat it like the Black Hollywood sign, and I think that's always so cool. They'll tag me in it. I just met a girl from LA when I was coming here. And she was like, "I'm from LA. You put me on to Worldwide Tacos. Those tacos do take long as hell, though." And I was like, "Yeah, I can't even go there anymore because it takes even longer now." But people who visit and like make insecure LA trips and will visit the landmarks, I just think that that's the coolest thing, because so much of it was a love letter to the city. But yeah, people telling me that it's inspired them to do their own thing is, I can never get tired of hearing that.
I will say too, I think in Texas people, there's an instant like, we don't deal with that California stuff. But you made like Texas people, they're like, except for what's on Insecure, that's cool. You know what I mean? Like there's a tension there for folks that don't know.
I didn't know that. I think you're putting me on. I know that we
have there is
Texas.
Yeah,
all of Texas.
Is there a Texas-California tension, folks?
Oh, Texas, California.
Yeah,
okay.
Texas, California. Yeah.
All right, fine, whatever.
Yeah, it's there.
Here.
I'm like, it's real. As someone that lived here for 15 years, yes, it's real. I think what's great, too, about everything that you've been doing is you've put a lot of yourself in all of your projects. I think, again, that's probably a blessing and a curse. Both Awkward Black Girl and Insecure were semi-autobiographical. You used your own name. But you've matured, done so many things since then, continued to have this incredible career. If you were to do a series now about this part of your life, what would that sort of look like?
Ooh.
I'm like, where's the pitch, girl? I'm just kidding.
I mean, there is. I feel like I just finished a midlife crisis, and I hope I'm not midlife. Inshallah. But there's this period that I feel like me and my friends are all going through, and it's between the ages of 37 and 42, and I find it really interesting. I think that there's this awakening that a lot of women go through. If you are married, whether you're single, whatever, like there's this instinct to blow your life up. There's this instinct to maybe change careers entirely, but something happens at this point, and I feel like that is I think that's the female midlife crisis period.
Dang,
did anybody relate? Is anybody blowing their life up right now? 37 to 42, I'm telling you, it's fucked up. It's crazy.
Cause like I want to go like make bees in the middle of nowhere. Like, I'm not gonna go
to make bees?
Like, go make beehives and like do honey. Like be a beekeeper.
That is not what I was talking about.
Yes,
That's crazy.
that's what I want to do. I want to go and like have a homestead and like be out there like
What
the last of
prompted that,
us.
though? Like,
I
what?
don't know, because I grew up on a farm and I want to go back.
you did?
Yeah, that's like that kind
okay.
of
That's
stuff.
like a
Yeah,
that's an origin
like,
story.
But
You're
I don't
going
want
back
to like
your
have
roots.
animals. I just want bees.
You're not allergic to them, clearly.
I know. This is too personal. Here we go.
I love it. I'm making that the character. That's the protagonist.
I would love that, actually. Like, that'd be so cool. You've been so great about advocacy throughout your career, even before I think other people understood that you were already speaking truth. Like, I remember you first talking about Awkward Black Girl when you were doing like your book tour, and you were saying things back then that I still like reference now as being very prophetic. You've had rallying cries about a lot of different things, and recently Sean Baker, when he accepted his Academy Award for Nora, he had a very impassioned plea about the communal theatrical experience. If you could sort of get up on your soapbox, again, there's no reason why you wouldn't before of now, but what would you say is sort of your battle cry? What are you hoping that folks in the industry would be paying attention to that they're not?
I mean, I agree with what Sean Baker said. I love that he said it. It's, kind of a plea for supporting artistry. For me, my soapbox it comes down to taking risks. I think that I know that there's such a huge fear about taking risks with original scripts, and I know that there's a huge desire for executives to do that, and to like so much of the reason why a lot of us got into this industry to begin with is because we were inspired by these original stories, and we were taught to dream, and it seemed like it was just possible, as opposed to like the regurgitation of IP and sequels and the like. It just feels it feels bleak in a way. And my other soapbox is just I feel like the diversity initiative just needs like a better publicist, because it's gotten like the anti-DEI, all of that, and the fear around that, and just the immediate retraction of any efforts to level the playing field and also focus on our stories is rooted in, I think, a big misunderstanding and this fear of exclusivity. And yeah, I think diversity needs a better publicist. That's it.
You have a really good publicist. Can you give them over to?
She's tired.
That's honestly fair. Don't want to give any more Black women work. I think another rallying cry that you had a few years, I wouldn't say it was a rallying cry. You had a quote in a magazine where you're just being interviewed, and it ended up being a rallying cry for a lot of people, and that was being intentional about who you work with. I think you've had some incredible products and some incredible things that you've been a part of, but I'm sure not every one of those partnerships was a match made in heaven, and not every single person that you've worked with is great. So how, since you've said, I think the quote is, not all money is good money, and not all people are good people, how have you tried to be intentional going forward with your work to make sure you keep that top of mind with the people that you're collaborating with?
It's always top of mind. It's not hard.
It's hard for other people.
Other people to not work with people they don't fuck with?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's, I tend to rely on my instincts, and I'm very like that. I don't want those headaches at the end of the day. I know that feeling of just I don't trust you. I know that you don't have good intentions, or I know that I might be being used, or we're just not on the same page. And if I don't have to go through that, why would I? And they're also I would rather do it the hard way and like go through that than it's slightly easy, but I feel terrible afterwards. And I recognize that, I don't need to say yes to every opportunity, and it feels so good when you're working with the right people. So it comes down to following that feeling.
I watch the HOORAE Media TikToks, and I'm just like, that looks so lovely. And I think that, like, bleeds through because just seeing how your team is and all of that. And also, I will admit, I love watching it. Like, that is not your HOORAE Media TikToks with like all of your executives and like them being like over it. And I think that's what you've sort of set up in that institution with the people that you chose to work there, and it comes across in like your social media. But I'm just curious, where you're like, we're gonna have a social and it's gonna be dope, because not every production company thinks about that.
That's, shout out to them, the team, because Lord knows I'm actually not on TikTok. I feel old saying that, but they have taken that over, and it really made it their personality and like representative of the workplace. And they'll send the clips that they're going to send, and I'm amused. But yeah, we have an incredible team, and we strive to create the next executives who are making this industry exciting again. And yeah, they really give me a lot of hope for the future.
I'm not the only one that's going to be asking questions. You have the ability as well in the keynote to submit your own questions. Towards the end of the conversation today, I'm going to ask some of your questions, so feel free to get the South by Southwest app so you can submit questions for that. But before we get there, I'm going to do a little bit of rapid fire television show that you think everybody should watch but hasn't.
That I think everyone should watch but hasn't. These
are going to be kind of like that, like favorite, best.
God dang. Bad Sisters.
Ooh, that's a good one.
I love it. I didn't think that she could do a season 2. I was like, girl, don't do it. I think she took it from like a Norwegian series. I don't remember, but I was like, they didn't even do a season 2, and you about to, and she did it. She shut me up happily. It was great.
Nice.
It's on Apple TV.
Top black episode of television. Top black television episode. Like, like from Moesha, from Moesha, Girlfriends, Friends, top, like if you're gonna put on one episode of a black sitcom that everyone should see, what's the top one? Not the Insecure pilot.
No, I wouldn't. I would not say that. I would say, what's one that I turn on that just makes me happy? It's probably gonna be an episode of Fresh Prince. And it is going to be the earthquake episode with with Tisha Campbell going here, like that is like, and him singing about being stuck in the basement, girl getting on my nerves. Like, there's just so many iconic moments. I'm gonna regret saying that because there's so many more. I could have named something from Different World. Like, it's too hard to name a single one. I could probably name one episode from each of my favorite black shows.
Can I just go ahead and say the episode with you and Lawrence getting back together across the couch is one of mine.
Oh, thank you.
That one is like, live for that.
Okay.
I mean, I know there's a graphic, but it's also like a black love story, and I'm a black love story girl, so.
Are you a Team Lawrence person?
Listen. Well, we were trying to keep this a very friendly conversation.
Wow. Tells me all I need to.
I know you were in love. That's all I will say. Issa loved that man.
Issa D was in love, yes.
Because I would have cut him. That's sorry, you asked. I wouldn't have said it. Jay Ellis is a lovely man, though. Don't come for him.
Yeah, shout out to him.
Anytime filmmaker or actor means no matter what they're in, the minute it's announced, you're going to watch it no matter what.
Regina Hall.
Nah, that's a good one. Yeah.
I just think that she's severely underrated. I want to see her in more things. She's in a Paul Thomas Anderson movie coming up. I'm so curious. Yes. I can't wait. But she can do anything, and I just feel like she's going to be here. She's been here for a long time, but she'll be here for even longer.
Yeah. Speaking of more recent successes, you recently produced One of Them Days starring SZA and Keke Palmer.
Thank you.
#1 at the box office, certified fresh on the tomato meter. Audiences are loving it. You managing not to get anyone in trouble on that press tour with those two people also deserves an award, because I think they were trying.
There are some messy bitches, I will say that. That's it. But it was a blast.
It was so fun to watch, too. But what I loved about it was how successful it was. And I'm not saying me, but there was maybe some people that thought other things would be more successful that weekend. And maybe they didn't know, like y'all are opening in the UK this weekend, and maybe they didn't know that this movie would be resonant over there. And they doubted that it would have the box office critical and commercial success. How do you approach that as a producer? And then how satisfying it is on the other side to be like, yeah, I told y'all.
Man, you approach it with a lot of frustration, I guess. Like we just wanted an opportunity to be successful and to get a theatrical release. It was already a huge milestone for us. And, you know, this is our first movie that we've produced. Shout out to Macro who also came on board to support the release of the film. And, you know, Sony gave us this theatrical opportunity when so many other comedy movies go to streaming or aren't even given a chance to be made. So we all knew like we had to be successful, and we also wanted to be set up for success. So to be doubted, it isn't a good feeling, but we knew that we had made something despite like all the everything stacked against us. It felt like we knew that we had made something that felt like something people wanted to see and that was missing. And so it was really satisfying. You know, when the reviews came out, we were super excited because you never know there. You could feel like that.
I work at Rotten Tomatoes. I'm aware.
Yes.
Like I never know.
Movie and people were waiting like, oh, okay, the reviews are good. That's okay. And then, you know, people actually going out to see it made all the difference, and I'm so grateful that audiences seem to know like, oh, we have to go support this movie in theaters, or there may not be another opportunity like this again. So it's great. We're almost at 50 million, and it is.
No, give it up for that. That is so huge. A Black female-led comedy pulls in $50 million out at the box office. For those of you who don't study it like we have to, that is a huge win that's going to make more movies like that. So thank you for making it. Just real quick on the press tour, what was the biggest laugh that they had out of you? Because you had me laughing on everything, but like, because like the Hot Ones with, I'm not even going to say what, but the Hot Ones interview, that was a lot. The three of y'all.
Anytime you're on a press one with Keke Palmer, like you're going to crack up laughing. And she had me and SZA dying. SZA's also just absolutely hilarious. But Keke calling the Cynthia Erivo.
Slave him.
She could have said Negro spiritual, but she called it a slave him. And she meant it with all due respect and love, but I just wasn't expecting what was going to come out of her mouth at all. And so she got me there.
And sold it. She's like,
a slave him, yes. Yeah, she's incredible. And she's also one of the, like, she's also anything that she's in, any interview she does, I'm tuned in, and like I feel like she really is just one of the greatest entertainers of our time. I truly believe that. She can do everything.
Yeah. I think it's also so interesting that One of Them Days has this intersection between entertainment and music right there with your two stars, showing exactly where both of those are as far as the next generation music and really just Black media. And you had another, you know, Black media and music moment. I do just have to talk to you about the Doechii viral Genius session. I lives for that so much. Like you, I feel she is somebody who is really like raising the stakes is what we expect out of Black female rappers the way you did as far as Black female entertainers. How did that happen? It was so cool. And yeah, just tell me about working with Doechii.
I was just minding my business, loving the album, and I just got a text like, hey, would you do, Doechii's gonna do a live performance of Denial is a River. Would you be a part of it? And I was like, yes, I don't even know what it is. Yes, absolutely. And then they asked me to be the therapist. And I thought it was going to be in her music video. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to be mouthing the lyrics. No problem. I got it. Like, do a little lip sync, easy. But they were like, no, it's a live performance. Like, you'll be on stage with her. And I was like, oh, no. Well, I've said yes too quickly. She's a real rapper, and she is an artist. And that's not what I signed up for. And so, you know, we got on a Zoom, and she just told me the concept, and, you know, immediately talking to her. We met like once before at an event in the past, and this is just like when What It Is came out before the album a couple years ago at like Mama Tina, I call her Mama Tina. Beyonce's mom, Tina knows. She does like a Waco event every year, and we saw each other there and showed love, and so that was the first time we'd seen each other in a couple of years, and she was just breaking down what it would be, and I was just determined to do it justice. I was practicing all weekend, and yeah, it was so exciting. My only thing was, it's not about you, don't fuck her up. And there was one take where I definitely fucked her up, but generally it was so great. She's so special, like you said. I feel like her time is now and the future, and she just, you know, she's really just living in this moment and embodying it and meeting it. And we were just talking backstage, like killing the Paris Fashion Week looks, just phenomenal. So her artistry is just incredible, and I'm proud of her.
I love, since we've been up on this stage, you've really been sure to shout out all of the people as a producer that make your job easy, like the directors, people like SZA, people like Keke Palmer. Essentially, as the producer, putting them in the room is a big part of your job, but then they bring so much more to it. As a producer, though, I feel like it's kind of like a job that gets sort of like misunderstood and maybe not executed as well, because there's so many people doing it as like a vanity thing, and they're not doing it because they really want to help cultivate other artists to find their vision, and they can add their sort of like weight behind it. What would you say is an aspect of being a producer that you wish people understood more, that is a huge part of how you're able to be successful and continue making these projects?
I think knowing what it is first. Some people just, you know, be like, oh yeah, I produce. And there's so many definitions of that, and even for me, like, I had to understand my particular strengths. You know, I identify as a creative producer more than a physical producer. Like, I've met physical producers who are absolutely outstanding and logistics focused, and that, like, they are the best way I can describe their signs are like as Virgos. Like, the Virgo version of a producer is that, in that, like, you're constantly thinking about logistics, you're puzzle piecing things together, and you're also able to navigate people. I think on my end, I like to think about story first. I like to think about, I like to develop something from start to finish. You know, my mind is in the edit. I like to work with actors. I like to work with directors, and there's just like, I can't envision just working on the logistics side without thinking about the creative side. And every single aspect of it. And, you know, that means, yeah, if I am on set every day, if I'm, thinking about whatever we're shooting the next day and thinking about how to make it better, there's just, and knowing every part that's going to be touched, I guess, every role that's going to play a part in telling this story, whether it is the editor, whether it's the production design, whether it's the music supervision, just understanding those pieces that are gonna make the story the best it can be, and thinking about that in the moment as we're shooting it, and making sure I'm communicating that to the director, the other producers, whoever's involved. But it's just constantly thinking about the best way to elevate the story at all costs.
What's your favorite part of being a producer? Like, of all those things that you mentioned, what is the thing that, like, if you have to look back on it, that gives you most satisfaction?
The beginning and the end. I love the development process, because the world is yours. You're just like, oh, we could do anything. Like, this is incredible, and this is gonna be incredible. And then the production crushes your soul. You're like, we can't do shit, nothing. This is it. And then in the edit again, it's like, oh, like, we can create something out of the broken pieces and make something great. Those parts are like where you have the most hope, and I like to live in the hope part.
You are the minority owner of a sports team. You have a beauty brand. You have coffee shops. You run a production company. You act. Technically, you're also a musician because Broke Pissy was part of my rotation. Sorry, South by. So lots going on. You're very booked and busy. Now looking back on it, prior to even Awkward Black Girl, what is that you miss most about that time before you had all of this going on? What is the part of your life that you kind of had to let go to be this multi-hyphenate that you miss the most?
I guess I miss not having expectations. And I mean that in, bless you, the ability to, like, I'll take risks regardless, but there's still an expectation of just like what you can do, what you can't do, and
the anonymity of it, like.
Yeah, and like if I just wanted to put something out there that I've never done before without the weight of my history or just any other context, like I can't do that anymore. In the same way that like. And be rooted for in the same way, potentially, you know? Like, I think about putting out Awkward Black Girl, like, it was like, oh, okay, we don't know who the fuck she is, and she just put out this web series, and I like it. I have no expectations. I don't know anything about her. I'm just looking at the work, and I feel like I won't ever have the courtesy again of just, like, looking at the work, and that just kind of is what it is.
You're really successful though, so nobody's just kidding. No, it's amazing. I asked the question, then I'm like, yeah, but no, but it's such an inspiration for so many people. You've been really just a beacon, I think, of like when Black women or creatives want to say I can. There's so many things that you've done that said she did it. There's things that people like Quinta did and Oprah did, and they say, well, they did it, so now I can. And because of that, you've sort of, like I said, sort of like set a precedent that a lot of people always want to follow behind. I'm curious for you if you knew that was what you always wanted to do, this sort of like entrepreneurial, doing so many different things, or was that something that came after the success? Because I don't think you could have just done TV shows. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you could have just done one thing, but I just don't think that's who you are as a person.
Thank you for saying that. I mean, I've always had a bunch of different interests, but I didn't know, like you said, TV, film, all of that. I knew that I wanted to be in the entertainment industry in some way. I just didn't know in what capacity or what role. But then even within that, I've just had very interest, and you're always told to kind of stay in a lane and pick something. And I follow that to an extent, and then when I realized, like, oh, I don't have to, and honestly, making stuff for the internet changed that for me, because I was just like, I'm doing all these different roles. You're writing, you're editing, you're marketing, you're directing, you're your own publicist, you're doing promo, like you're transpo, you're like, there's so many things that I'm doing there, and I some of them I like, some of them I hate. So what would stop me from doing that just in other lanes? And you know, I think about, I always say that if I wasn't doing this profession, I would love to be a waitress / bartender. I was, and I enjoyed it because I love the restaurant industry, the hospitality industry. Like, I love that side. And so there was an opportunity to step into that via doing a coffee shop, and now, you know, having a restaurant lounge. And that comes with just learning that I don't have to do it all myself, that I could work with other capable people and partners and contribute my strengths without necessarily going back there in the kitchen and making the food, because it wouldn't be successful if that were the case.
Do you think that's a key part of being able to do as much as you do, is having those like different folks that you can bring along to do that?
Yes, absolutely. And I've been like really blessed to meet a bunch of collaborators on that journey, like whether it's on the film and TV side or on the entrepreneurial side, on the beauty side, like whatever it is, and to have them identify something in me and vice versa, just in the ways that we can grow and strengthen one another. That's been my entire career. That's how it started, is just even identifying people from high school and college and just being like, you want to work together? And can we help each other? You help me, I help you, and building from there. That is something that has served me my entire career.
Yeah, and I will say again, there's so many firsts, there's so many things that again have just lit this beacon, and I love hearing how honest you are about how it felt for you to experience those. One of the things that I read that you'd said was the first time you felt you made it was when you went to the Golden Globes for the first time, and like you were part of that community and you were in that room and they were sort of like, oh, I'm here. It's not like less of the imposter syndrome, like these are my people. I'm a part of this film and television community and I kind of made it. That's what you said. What has been some of the moments since then? Because I know with any career, it's like, well, you made it here, but then there's a new level up. Have you had any of those other moments where it's like, it's past the I made it, it's like you felt like you achieved something that really took you to a different place in your career, and it's like a different welcoming, sort of like the same way you felt when you went into the Golden Globes?
I'll clarify. The Golden Globes was like, ooh, I feel pretty. That was it. That was like, ooh, I got a red carpet moment.
Misquoted you.
That I would say that like going to Essence Black Women in Hollywood was the first time where I felt like, and that was during my awkward black girl days, and that was like the first time I walked on a red carpet, the first time I was seeing Sanaa Lathan and Niecy Nash and Oprah up close, and that was just like, these are the women I've looked up to and I've admired, and instead of maybe I shouldn't be walking this red carpet, like I don't belong here, and then Niecy Nash being like, girl, get down here, you belong. And that was just like so affirming. And since then, yes, there have been other milestone moments like the Golden Globes and these events, but nothing feels real. And you know, the thing about even making TV, I talk about this all the time, is like you don't, unlike film where you can go to a premiere or pop into a movie theater maybe and see people and watch people enjoy your work or hate it, whatever, sorry. You can't really pop into people's houses in making a TV show, and Twitter, or now X, was the first opportunity for a lot of these showrunners to see in real time, like, oh, this is how my show is doing, this is how people are reacting, and there's something special about that. And one of the first times that I felt like really seen was, you know, after the Insecure the Insecure finale, and watching people go crazy online about that, and not, you know, however they felt about it, was just like, oh, I feel like I've made something that's resonated with people. And now on the other side of it, like I just said, like people saying you inspired me to want to be a costume designer because of that show, or now I have my own show, and like that, I didn't think that was possible. And that's incredible to me, because it's just like it's a through line, and it directly connects with the way that I watched the shows from the past and decided like this is something that I want to do. And the fact that, you know, people come up to me and tell me that is crazy.
I think it's aged very well, the last season of Insecure. I think people had like hot feelings at the finale, but I will say it aged really well. And I will just say of the last season, the thing I really enjoyed was when Issa and Molly came back together. It was actually very authentic. It's always the friends that you've had the longest when things go really wrong and you don't know where to go, and then they're like, all right, I just got to call you and we have to talk it through. I thought that was some of the most authentic and like really powerful writing I'd ever seen, because that is when you call your girlfriend being like, yeah, I know we're mad at each other, but like, you're the only person I can talk to. I love that. Really? I was like, such a good moment.
Thank you.
Thank you for giving us that. I know you're always looking for inspiration, and especially right now, I think in Hollywood, it's a very scary time. A lot of folks are looking for things to feel inspired by, particularly from people that are still trying to make it. I think it may be an okay time for folks that are in an established set, but it's harder for people coming up. I'm curious if you've seen any inspirations from up-and-coming artists in entertainment that sort of like give you hope, that are inspiring you, people that are coming up that make you say, oh, I see this, and it makes me feel like things are still moving, we're still making things happen, and it kind of keeps you going as well.
You're asking me on a bad day. I don't know. But I will say some of, I touched on it earlier, but some of these executives that are coming up. Some of these executives that I know are like in there fighting and trying to get new voices in despite resistance, despite their jobs being on the line, all that. Like I admire that, those who are still pushing for diverse stories despite mandates. But I guess right now I'm outside of the industry. I'm just like, I admire anybody who's going into government, going into politics, trying to make changes outside of this. And I feel like, you know, sometimes the onus is put on celebrities to put their voices out there. And I'm just like, y'all shut the fuck up and just support like the people who are doing the work and do that silently. And that is the best way to make change, not to make yourself the center of it, but to get somebody to run or find somebody that on the grassroots level and put your weight behind them silently. And so that's the, like, kind of my MO right now.
Shut your mouth, write a check. I got it.
Hey. Open your purse.
I think we're ready for the audience Q&A, but I don't see it up here. So I'm going to check now and see if we have it. Maybe not. In the interim, maybe I can ask you just really quickly a show that you've been watching or a film that you've been obsessing about, anything new?
I mean, I'm watching Severance, obviously, and caught up. It's so damn good. What else? My head has been down because I've been writing a lot, and I tend to tune things out when I'm doing that. But if you name something, I might. No, don't, because I'm going to be embarrassed. Like, no, I haven't seen it yet. And everybody's talking about Paradise. I really want to tune into that.
Yeah, I was actually going to say that. It's really good.
Yeah, I'm waiting. Once I'm on the other side of this writing tunnel, I will tune back in.
All right, I feel really weird because I don't see the questions, so we can just keep talking. So while we're waiting on that one, I'll bring it back a little bit more. Oh, there we go. Never mind, I lied. Okay, here we go. Looking back, let me see. Looking back on what parts of your characters still resonate with you today and what parts of your characters feel like a past version of yourself you've outgrown. This is from Ashton Martin.
Looking back at Awkward Black Girl, what parts of the character still resonate with you? A lot of it. The title still resonates with me. What parts feel like a past version of yourself outgrown? I would say, like, you know, that was a show that I wrote while I was in my 20s, kind of still finding myself, where I didn't have necessarily the confidence to or wherewithal within to be like, no, I don't like this. No, this makes me uncomfortable. I don't want to be around you. I don't have to be around you. So like now I have more of the years on me to just be like, I'm uncomfortable with this. No, I'm out of here. Or I don't have to live within this. Or just speak up and say out loud. Like, I'm way more vocal about things that annoy or bother me, and I also have a lot more patience.
Next question, Jashelle Nicole. I admire how you've scaled your work. Have you scaled your work staying rooted in Black culture? How do you stay tapped in and ensure your content stays true to the community as you grow? Anytime I put pen to paper, I have an idea. I think about my friends and family. I think about that specific audience, and that, like, there's so many stories and untapped stories within our culture that, like, I'm excited to mine, and so there's no real effort required. It starts kind of with that audience, and those are the stories that I like to see the most. So, and when I think about trying to stay true to the community, that almost feels like I don't ever want to feel like I'm pandering, ever. So it is more about, like, these are the stories that are true to me and that are within my community, and that don't feel forced and that I need to get out my system. But I'm glad if it resonates with people. feel that. Marissa, I'm sorry, I think I asked your last question, so I'm going to skip that one. But Kuela Allen Comila, sorry if I got that wrong. You made your foray into food with Hilltop and Somerville. How do you see the convergence of art and food in the future of Black storytelling?
Convergence of art and food in the future of Black storytelling. Interesting. It feels there. Have you seen a movie called Soul Food? I mean, no. I don't know how to answer that. I feel like it's there. It depends. If you're talking about, like, is there going to be a Black the Bear? Well, the bear is pretty Black right now, but but yeah, I think it just depends on the medium and the storyteller. But it sounds delicious.
Anne asks, you gave Black women a happy ending in Insecure. What does your happy ending look like? I'm going to try to make that not dirty. I'm trying. I'm going to flex it a little bit. What is bringing you happiness right now? How do you spark joy within your life right now?
I have so much joy in my life right now. I think one, being able to, I do what I love, despite, maybe frustrations of the industry. I still get to, like, tell stories and wake up and think about the business and businesses and work with people that I love and dream high and ideate. And there's just so much to love about that. I always think about, when I used to wake up and go to a job that I hated, and I wake up excited about the day every single day, and I'm just eternally grateful.
Grace, I'm not going to butcher your name, but I'm going to go to your question next. What is the best stream of consciousness rap moment you've had recently? That's assuming that you have those all the time.
I do. I do. Like, if you put sometimes I'll put an instrumental on in the car, and I'm like, I think that I can go for it. And then I go for it, and it's not good. So, stream of consciousness rap moment, I wish I could effectively deliver that, but I can't. I'm not a rapper, and I never will be.
I'm so sorry, this is off the cuff. I just want to know, who was your first text after Kendrick dropped?
Oh, man, that's my first.
Because I know everybody's got that first person they text. He dropped. I'm like, who is yours? Because if I had your phone number, you would probably be mine.
Man, I was mad excited, but where was I? I feel like I just have a group chat with my friends, and I was super, super excited. I know that there was a specific text.
It's okay. I don't want to get into your business, but I feel like as a rap fan, that was a great weekend for you. It was a great weekend for everybody.
Truly. The whole beef was incredible. Like, leading up to, honestly, as, big as a Drake fan as I have been, to see that, I just, it was just the best pop cultural moment on earth to me.
Global. I went to Cannes right after that thing dropped, and it was blaring like all through like Cannes, and I was like, yeah, this is bigger than that.
Even the aftermath, I'm like, girl.
Jasmine asks, what are your top 3 screenwriting tips for up and coming writers?
Get an accountability partner, because honestly, there's so many times where I want to start something or want to finish something or keep it going, and it really helps to just have that other person that's struggling with me and just to check in with. I also make sure that you understand that you're setting time aside. For me, like, I always have to make sure that my days are cleared. I cannot schedule any meetings because it'll just distract me from what I'm supposed to do and that focus. And 3 is procrastinate. Do it. Lean into it, because you're going to do it anyway. And as long as you get it out the way and make yourself feel guilty, you'll go back to it and kill it. So I lean into my procrastination.
I think that. Well, then, what is the best way to motivate you to get locked in? Like when you know you have a deadline, you can't flex. Is there like a playlist you put on, a place that you go, something that you physically do to be like, okay, we have to lock in now?
Yeah, I have to leave. I need to get out of my house. I need to get away from people. I'll put my phone on DND, ignore texts. Only certain people can get through. But yeah, I like to leave. I like to go away too. I love a workation. Sometimes I'll just go somewhere beautiful to only lock myself in a hotel room, but at least knowing that it's out there is comforting. And that makes me feel like, okay, I'm away and I'm working and I'm diving in.
As a Black actor, it's hard not to be discouraged by the backsliding in Hollywood's commitment to increase diversity. How do you suggest navigating this shift? I guess you're still navigating it.
Yeah, I'm trying to navigate in the way that like just promoting more ownership and trying to figure out these platforms that that are committed to continuing to tell our stories, in addition to trying to also look at alternative ways to continue to tell stories without permission. So that's my biggest thing. But as an actor, yes, I understand the frustration because sometimes it can feel like you're waiting on someone to cast you. But honestly, the best thing you can do as an actor is to help other writers, link with a director, and yeah, try to make shit on your own, and to look into producing. That's what a lot of my friends have done. That's what, you know, that was my way of breaking into the industry, even though I didn't know what I was doing, but learning every part of the business, learning how to edit, learning how to terribly light, learning how to film, learning composition, those kinds of things to be able to tell a story, really made me feel like I was taking control of my own destiny in a way.
Yeah, Miranda, oh, that question was from Auburn Hicks. And then Miranda, I think I've already asked your question as far as favorite television shows, and you said, wait, did you come up with any new ones that, since I asked it, did anything pop into your head?
I did not. No.
Okay, that's fine. Monique asks, when did you finally understand you were also an entrepreneur, and what is the first step for those who want to turn creativity into monetization?
I just thought of
Go ahead.
Because to turn my mind off, I do still watch a lot of reality television, and I have to say, Traders season 2. Season 2? Is it season 2 right now, or season 3 for the American version?
Is it 3 for American or 3 or 2? 3, yeah, it's 3.
This is season 3 for American?
Yeah, because the first one had regular people.
Oh, I wasn't locked in. But yes, I do think that that's one of the most well done reality shows in terms of taking people from. Did the finale come on? Yeah. Oh, don't tell me anything.
I won't. Don't y'all do it.
Okay. Sorry. Can you ask that question again?
No, it's okay. When did you finally understand that you were also an entrepreneur, and what is the first step for those who want to turn creativity into monetization?
I realized I was an entrepreneur. I think the creating stuff online. Honestly, it was when I started creating web series and making that happen, working on music videos, doing videography to make money. Like I was like, oh, I have to make money myself and figure that out. And I think the first step to turn creativity into monetization is to try to find someone who's willing to buy what you're selling. Honestly, I got lucky. It started with, my friend's dad. It was a high school teacher, and he was like, I need someone to tape the talent shows and edit them. And I was like, well, you found her. And then going to weddings and trying to make that artistic, filming people's birthday parties and starting there and being like, oh, I'm putting my little flair on it. And looking back, they're all very embarrassing, but they were all steps to build the skills to ultimately do what I wanted to do. And so you can be creative with anything, and you can justify doing anything to hone your creativity. So for me, it was about that.
I'm going to skip to this last question because I'm also curious about it. You said the industry is, and this is from Charles Brockman, you said the industry is full of rejection. What was the yes that changed the trajectory of your career, or at least made you want to keep going early on?
Ooh, what was the yes that changed the trajectory of my career. Wow. You finally getting this green light for HBO, for Insecure, honestly. Like, up until that point, I was convinced that Awkward Black Girl was gonna be it for me. You know, I had gotten this opportunity to write a pilot for Shonda Rhimes' company, Shondaland, and I fucked that up and that wasn't great for me. They were incredible to work with, but I wasn't ready to write a TV show. I didn't really know what I was doing, and my voice was all mushy. And then the HBO opportunity came along to develop what would become Insecure, but that development process took so long. It took about like 2 years, 2.5 years before I finally got to shoot the pilot. And so I'll never forget once I got that email. It was my sister's birthday, of just like, this script, I think 7 or 8 drafts in, we're gonna shoot the pilot. And I knew that obviously pilots aren't guaranteed to go to series, but I was like, I'm gonna put my all in this, and we gotta make this happen. And so that yes to the green light for the pilot changed my career.
So glad they said yes. I want to thank South by Southwest, the folks at HOORAE Media, Seen and Heard, and of course the incomparable Issa Rae for being here.
Thank you.
And all of you for watching.
Thank you so much, Jacqueline.
From one awkward Black girl to another, this has been a real treat. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank y'all.
Appreciate y'all. See you Seen and Heard tonight.
Let's take a picture.